I'm personally engaged in this market as well in youth development, so I'll help mediate this panel and also participate in the panel. I think is one of the key things missing in this country still is to figure out which is the right process, what is the right methodology, how does everything come together, how does the market collaborate themselves to get to the best players in the future. So in the future, we're able to tell differences between all different players on the field in the United States, and not all of them have the same attributes in a way, which it is something that you see nowadays in the States still. We're getting there, we're moving forward, and we feel responsible to try to help whatever we can, and also learn from you guys, as you've seen in the beginning with Mike and his opening remarks, how in the States we're able to maximize the careers of everybody that is engaging in the youth development process here, playing soccer. How all of the kids are able to have a career, whether it's on the field or whether it's becoming a lawyer or a doctor or what have you. You're able to get everybody a future and not sacrificing people like we do maybe kids in Brazil or in other countries where you have to choose, and the reality is 1% of the kids are going to make it and have a career, but what are the other ones giving up? So as we engage here the discussion, the first question that I have to all three of you guys, and it's a one that I hope everybody has in their minds as well. When is the correct age to start molding the player, which means removing a piece of their freedom on the game? When do you start putting them in a situation that they have to do what you tell, or keep putting that box around the player that I've had in my career?
I'll start with then. I think you should have the freedom for your whole career. I mean, you play pro. When you start playing the game, you start playing because you love the game. So that love, you gotta keep inside of you for your whole career. So when you see Parreiras talking, I mean, he looks younger than I am because his passion of the game just covers everybody. Everybody keeps watching him and be focused. So when we try to develop kids, the first idea that we have is to engage the kids on the game. That's the main idea. And we should develop all the contents within the game. So they will be actually step by step improving and enhancing their performance. So when we say about modeling players, I mean, the way that we teach the game, they're already being modeled, but in a fun way. Instead of just telling them what to do, we try to guide them to discover the answers and to learn the game. So what we work with is how much and how difficult it's going to be the task. So of course, when I have a UA player, I'm not going to do most difficult games like I do for the U17s because they're not ready for it. Just like in school, when you're learning math, you learn to add before you learn to multiply. So when you're teaching the game, you're going to start with the fun games, with the most easy games. You're not going to be focused too much on the tactical awareness. But they're going to be actually doing it without knowing. And by the time that we see they developed well, then we start increasing the difficulty of the games, and then we're going to end up watching that they're learning, and we encourage them to exchange ideas with questioning and answering throughout the session. So the feedbacks are the most important things for me.
No, thank you. Mike, do you?
I have a little bit of a unique aspect of this because when I inherit players that come to our school, in our academy, we have some fantastic players naturally. Their physical gifts or their technical gifts are already there. What sometimes they lack is a general understanding of how to play the game or how to use those gifts properly in a team structure in order to get the most out of them. So to answer the question for me, what I try to do is identify what those gifts are and never take that away. And never take that away and continue to build it and structure it to the point where they can use those gifts to be the best player they can be. I've seen sometimes where there's a strict philosophy where they strip some technical ability or dribbling ability away, and you're really taking that away from the player. I have probably in my starting 11 7 different nationalities. And in that 7 different nationalities, there's African styles, there's Brazilian styles, there's American styles, there's all kinds of different styles going on at the same time. And the challenge for me as a coach is to put those all together using the gifts of each and every country, each and every culture that each individual has to the best to improve them as players, but also make us an effective team.
Okay, I totally agree with Edu. And at Fluminense, we start our work very, very early. We start with players 6 years old. Until 12 years old, we don't give them any kind of tactical or something more restricted. We give them freedom and only small games for them to practice and to improve their ability, their passion for the game. Since after 12 years old, 13 years old, we start to teach them tactical aspects. We are going to improve this kind of teaching step by step, but always give them freedom and practicing what Nike says, beautiful game. That is important. Our methodology today, we have a methodology to youth development. Our focus is always to play a beautiful football, a beautiful soccer. So it's very important to give them freedom during all the time.
What's also very interesting, I'd like to introduce my good friend Salif Diao at the back. Salif is originally from Senegal, played in 2002 World Cup. He played for Liverpool. He has a charity in Senegal called Sport for Charity. And I do a lot of work with him. We work together in order to help African youths come to the United States, get their education and train to be professionals. What's very interesting is when I go and see him and visit him and look for the generations, many times the boys who are 8, 9, 10, 11 are technically and even sometimes tactically better than some boys who are 14 and 15 who are getting coached. And you can't explain it because they're playing street ball, and sometimes we say the younger ones are even better than sometimes the U19s. Their ideas and their sharp and their quickness, and a lot of it has to do there in that area is of just simply playing on the street. And no one's coaching them, no one's telling them anything. They're watching a lot of TV, of course, but it's very interesting to study that where there's no instruction for kids at that age, real instruction, but sometimes their decision making and their technical ability is much better than boys 4 and 5 years older who are training and who are getting instruction. We discuss that all the time, but it has a lot to do with the repetition and the environment they're in, just to simply express themselves and try new things with no one putting limitations on them.
Can I just add? And I think this is coaching. I mean, coaching is maximizing someone's potential and minimize their deficiencies. So the game can tell you a lot. I mean, we start today analyzing the game, and that's a social environment that people behave a certain way. So now we're in a social environment here, but we're using soccer to be the liaison of all of us to be here. I didn't know Mike before, but soccer gave me the opportunity to know Mike now. So the kids from Senegal, the kids from Brazil, they use soccer, they use the love, so they create a social environment and they start developing because it's a game. It already has rules. So when you're beginning, they don't need us to tell them what to do. They need to enjoy it. And now we have to understand what type of coaching we're giving to the kids. Because sometimes, and most of the times, we overcoach the kids. They don't need as much information we give to them. All they need is guidance. All they need is questions. And now, sometimes we give them answers. Kids wanna figure out the answers, just like us. Nobody wants anybody to tell what to do. They want somebody to be able to teach them and to coach how to get better, and not just give you the answer. So I think that reflection that Mike did, it's something that we can think about since we have a lot of coaches in the room.